The sky over Earth had never looked like this. Huge ships, black and metallic, hung in the clouds, blocking the sunlight, casting shadows that made cities tremble below. People stared upward, hearts pounding, mouths dry. Children clung to their parents. Dogs whimpered, and even the bravest soldiers felt a chill crawl down their spines. These were not ordinary visitors. These were the Zirath, a race that had conquered countless worlds, leaving nothing but ash and silence in their wake. Commander Elena Marquez stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, her hands tight, around the railing. Her breath came shallow, but her mind was sharp. Every report from Earth's defenses, every simulation she had run, told her one thing. Humanity did not stand a chance, yet deep inside her, a fire refused to die. She looked at the stars beyond the alien fleet and whispered to herself, "We may be small, but we are not weak." The Zirath communicated, their message simple and cold. Surrender, humans. Resistance is meaningless. The broadcast vibrated through every speaker, every screen, and every heart. Cities went silent. Millions felt despair pressing down like a physical weight. The words carried an unspoken truth. Resistance would bring death, and yet Elena could not obey. She turned to her team, her eyes fierce. "Prepare for battle," she commanded. "We will fight. We will survive. And we will show them that humanity does not surrender." On Earth, people listened. Soldiers readied their weapons, engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged systems, and civilians found courage they did not know they had. Humanity had no superweapons, no fleets that could match the Zirath. What they had was heart, determination, and a stubborn refusal to bow. They had families, memories, dreams, and they were not about to give them up without a fight. The alien ships began their attack. Beams of pure energy struck cities, forests, and oceans, leaving fire and devastation in their wake. Humanity's first instinct was panic, yet across the globe, people pushed forward. Emergency broadcasts carried one message: fight for your home, your family, your world. From orbit, Elena watched the first wave of human ships launch. Small, fragile, easily destroyed. Every pilot knew the risks. Every soldier knew the likely, and yet, as one, they surged into the darkness of space. Their engines glowed against the black, a tiny army of light against impossible odds. The Zirath expected fear. They expected surrender. They had never met a species so determined to resist, so united by love of their home. Every calculation had failed to account for the human spirit, the fierce courage that could turn hopelessness into defiance, weakness into strength. On the command deck, Elena's voice was steady, but her heart raced. "Remember this," she said to her officers. "They want us to be afraid. We are not afraid. We fight for Earth, for humanity, for the right to exist." The first shot streaked across space, small lasers against the massive alien hulls. Explosions flared. Human ships were torn apart, yet still they pressed forward. Every sacrifice, every scream, every flash of light was a message to the Zirath. Earth would not kneel. Down on Earth, children watched the sky. Families held hands. People prayed, shouted, or wept. But in every city, town, and village, one truth became clear. Humanity was alive. Humanity would fight. And somewhere deep in the alien command ships, the Zirath began to realize they had underestimated their opponent. The battle had just begun, and already, humanity was beginning to write a story the galaxy would never forget. The void of space was alive with fire and smoke. Human ships darted between the massive Zirath vessels like sparks against a dark night. Every small explosion, every desperate maneuver, told a story of courage. Commander Elena Marquez watched from the flagship's bridge, heart pounding with both fear and pride. "Hold formation," she shouted. "Target the engines. Focus on their weak points." Her pilots, young and old, veterans and rookies, obeyed without hesitation. They knew the odds were stacked against them. The Zirath, Ships were enormous, bristling with energy weapons that could obliterate a human frigate in a single shot. Yet the humans moved like shadows, striking with precision, dodging the alien fire and disappearing before retaliation could find them. In the Zirath command deck, confusion rippled through the officers. "Why are they attacking?" one asked, voice trembling. "They cannot win. Their destruction is certain." The Zirath admiral's eyes narrowed. Then why do they not surrender? That question echoed through the massive vessel. The Zirath had never encountered a species that embraced hopelessness as courage, that faced annihilation with pride. Every calculation failed. Every plan faltered. Humanity fought, not because it had to, but because it wanted to, because they refused to kneel. On the battlefield, explosions tore through the darkness. A human fighter veered sharply to avoid a laser blast, only to fire back with pinpoint accuracy. The alien hull shattered, a cascade of molten metal floating in space. Cheering crackled through the human comms channel. Every small victory, every fallen Zirath ship, fueled their determination. Yet the cost was heavy. Ships that had flown so bravely now drifted as twisted wrecks. Pilots who had fought with unmatched courage were gone. Elena clenched her fists as reports of losses came in, but she could not allow grief to paralyze her. Humanity had no choice but to continue. Every sacrifice, she knew, was a step toward survival. "Commander," a young pilot said, voice shaking, "they're regrouping. Another wave is coming." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Then we will be ready. Humanity does not run." The Zirath launched their next assault. Energy beams cut through space, tearing apart asteroid belts, vaporizing anything in their path. The humans responded with tactics born of desperation and ingenuity. Frigates swarmed around larger ships, creating distractions. Missile pods fired from every angle. Some pilots even rammed their own ships into Zirath vessels to disable their engines. Humanity was small, but they were clever, fearless, and unstoppable in their unity. Below, on Earth, people watched live feeds of the first clash. Children gasped. Adults held their breath. Every hit, every maneuver, every sacrifice became a symbol of hope. Humanity was not cowering. Humanity was fighting. Humanity was alive. On board the alien flagship, the Zirath admiral slammed his clawed hand against the console. "This is impossible. We have never faced such determination." His officers looked on, unsure, confused. Humanity's bravery defied logic, reason, and expectation. The Zirath had come to conquer, expecting surrender. Instead, they had found resistance unlike any they had ever seen. In the midst of chaos, Elena's voice rose above the roar of battle. "Hold your line. Protect each other. Fight for your home, your families, your world." Her words carried through the fleet, through the fear, through the fire. Every pilot, every crew member felt their courage double. They were small, yes, but they were human. They would not be broken. The battle raged through hours that felt like days. Ships burned, stars shone coldly, and yet humanity pressed forward, striking with courage the Zirath could not comprehend. And as the first wave of alien ships faltered, humanity realized something extraordinary. They were not just surviving. They were winning. Somewhere deep in the Zirath fleet, fear began to whisper. For the first time in countless conquests, the invaders understood a terrifying truth. They had underestimated humans, and that mistake would cost them dearly. The battlefield of space glowed with fire and wreckage. Human ships, though smaller and weaker, moved like a single living organism. They darted, weaved, and struck with precision. Every explosion against the Zirath fleet was a message. Humanity would not bow, humanity would not break. Commander Elena Marquez stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Zirath formations. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with fierce determination. "Focus on the weapons arrays," she ordered. "If we can disable their firepower, we can turn this fight in our favor." Her officers nodded, understanding the stakes. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing a species that had conquered countless worlds. Yet they felt the same unshakable truth. Humanity would fight. Not because it could, but because it must. In the void, small human frigates launched coordinated attacks. Pilots who had been terrified moments before now moved with uncanny precision, trusting each other without question. Missiles arced through space, lasers blazed, and the enormous Zirath ships began to falter. One by one, engines exploded, hulls cracked, and alien crews scrambled in confusion. "This isn't possible," the Zirath admiral growled, his claws slamming against the console. "Their numbers are insignificant. Their technology is primitive, and yet they fight with such rage." The aliens could not comprehend it. Humans fought not for conquest, not for glory, but for survival, for family, for home. Every loss, every fear faced only made them stronger. The Zirath had expected surrender, and instead they found resistance that burned brighter than any weapon in their arsenal. On the Resolute, Elena watched a young pilot fire a precision strike that destroyed one of the massive alien warship's main engines. "Well done, Lieutenant Chen," she shouted. The pilot's eyes were wide with fear and triumph. "Thank you, Commander, it actually worked." Elena smiled briefly. "It always works if you don't give up." As the battle continued, Earth below held its breath. People in every city, every village, every country watched live feeds of the confrontation. Children pressed their faces to screens, adults gripped their chairs, and soldiers felt a surge of pride unlike anything before. Humanity, small and fragile, was standing against a giant and winning in ways no one thought possible. The Zirath were faltering. Their formations broke apart, their ships slowed, and panic spread among their ranks. They had never faced a species that fought with such unity, with such raw determination. Their calculations had failed, their expectations shattered. Elena's voice cut through the human comms network. "Keep pushing. Every ship, every fighter, every person aboard counts. Today, we show the galaxy that humans will never surrender." Her words inspired a renewed energy across the fleet. Pilots who had been on the verge of despair now fought with unbreakable courage. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged ships mid-battle. Soldiers manned their posts, firing with determination and heart. Humanity's spirit had become a weapon as powerful as any laser or missile. In the center of the chaos, a single human frigate, barely larger than the Zirath's fighter drones, collided with an alien warship, disabling its control systems. The alien vessel drifted helplessly, proof that size and technology were not everything. The Zirath could destroy ships, but they could not destroy spirit. Elena's eyes glimmered with emotion. She felt the weight of every life lost and every sacrifice made. Yet she also felt hope, a bright, unyielding light. Humanity had survived the first shock. Humanity had turned the tide. And the Zirath, the invaders who had expected obedience and surrender, now faced a terrifying reality. Humans were not just fighters. Humans were warriors. In the silent aftermath of a particularly fierce skirmish, Elena whispered to herself, "They wanted our surrender. But they've found the fight of their lives." The stars around them seemed to shimmer with a new energy, as if acknowledging the courage of a species that refused to be broken. And deep in the Zirath fleet, fear began to root itself, a seed that would grow with every strike, every defiance, and every human heart that refused to yield. The war had only just begun, but humanity, against all odds, had already changed the rules. The void of space was alive with smoke, fire, and the bright flashes of lasers. Human ships darted like sparks around the massive Zirath warships. Each small vessel moved with a daring precision that made it almost impossible for the aliens to target them. Commander Elena Marquez gripped the railing on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes never leaving the chaotic battlefield. "Now," she said, voice steady but firm. "Execute Operation Ironheart." Her officers immediately began coordinating the attack. The plan was risky, perhaps reckless, but it was humanity's only chance. They would strike the Zirath command ship directly, aiming to cripple their leadership and disrupt the alien fleet. Every pilot, engineer, and soldier knew the stakes. Failure meant death. Success meant hope. The first wave of human fighters surged forward, weaving through enemy fire. Missiles streaked across the void, targeting weapon arrays and engine cores. Small explosions erupted along the hulls of the alien vessels, sending sparks and debris spinning into the endless darkness. Humanity's ingenuity shone in every maneuver. Where the Zirath expected fear and chaos, they met courage, precision, and unwavering determination. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called over the comms, voice tight with tension. "We've reached their shields. What now?" "Hold steady," Elena replied. "Focus your fire on the junction points. Every strike counts." As the humans pressed their attack, the Zirath fleet began to falter. Their ships staggered under the relentless assault, engines failing, weapon systems sparking. Confusion spread through the alien ranks. Their calculations had never accounted for such strategy combined with raw courage. They had expected panic, surrender, and despair. Instead, they faced unity, hope, and determination, the likes of which they had never seen. On Earth, broadcasts showed the bravery of humanity in vivid detail. Children watched wide-eyed, gripping their parents' hands. Adults held their breath, tears running down faces hardened by fear. Across the globe, people felt pride and hope swell inside them. Humanity was fighting not for glory, not for conquest, but for life itself, and the whole world was witnessing it. In the thick of battle, a human frigate rammed a Zirath cruiser, disabling its weapons array. Engineers worked feverishly to stabilize their own ship, while pilots coordinated to shield the damaged vessel. Each act of bravery became a ripple, inspiring others to greater heroism. The humans were small, yes, but they were fierce, relentless, and united by a love for their planet that no machine could comprehend. "Commander, their admiral is trying to regroup," reported an officer. "He's sending reinforcements." Elena's gaze sharpened. "Then we will meet them. Humanity never retreats. Remember that." The Zirath launched their counterattack, massive energy beams cutting across space, incinerating smaller human ships in flashes of fire. Yet humanity pressed forward, undeterred. For every loss, a new pilot took their place. For every fallen ship, another rose to fight. Their courage became infectious, spreading across the fleet like wildfire. Even amid destruction, hope glimmered. Pilots rescued damaged comrades, engineers repaired hull breaches in real time, and soldiers manned stations with unwavering resolve. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or numbers, but in heart. Every life mattered, every act of courage counted, and every human understood that the fight was bigger than themselves. In the Zirath flagship, fear took root. Officers whispered in alarm. "They cannot possibly maintain this," one said. "Their losses, their technology." The admiral's eyes burned with frustration. "They are different. Their hearts, they do not fear death. They fight like nothing we have ever seen." Elena's voice rang across the fleet once more, calm yet commanding. "Strike for your families. Strike for your homes. Strike for humanity itself. Today we show the galaxy that Earth will never surrender." The human ship surged forward, lasers cutting, missiles launching, engines blazing. Every small victory, every clever maneuver, every act of bravery shook the Zirath fleet. The invaders had expected surrender. Instead, they were facing a storm of defiance that no calculation could predict. And as the stars around them reflected the glow of battle, humanity's message was clear. They were small, fragile, and underestimated, but they were unstoppable. The void of space roared with fire and destruction. Human ships, though smaller and outnumbered, had found a rhythm in chaos. Each strike, each daring maneuver, wore down the Zirath fleet. Commander Elena Marquez stood at the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes scanning the holographic battlefield. Every line of alien formation that wavered was a sign that humanity's courage was working. "Target their command nodes," Elena ordered. "If we disable their leadership, their fleet will crumble." Her officers nodded, determination blazing in their eyes. Every human pilot knew the risk. Every engineer knew the strain. But they moved as one, a single heartbeat in the vast expanse of space. Humanity was not just surviving. It was fighting, with a precision and bravery that no alien calculation could predict. The Xyrath fleet began to show cracks. Ships faltered as human missiles found critical weaknesses. Lasers tore through shields, engines sparked, and the massive alien vessels slowed. Confusion and fear spread through the Xyrath ranks. They had never encountered an opponent who not only fought back but did so with unrelenting strategy and courage. On Earth, people watched live feeds of the battle. Families clung to one another. Children whispered prayers, and soldiers felt renewed hope. Humanity was showing the galaxy that the small and fragile could rise against the mighty. Each victory, no matter how small, became a symbol of defiance. Humanity's heart, courage, and unity were weapons stronger than any technology. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over comms. "We've reached their central command ship. What's our move?" Elena took a deep breath, her mind clear despite the chaos. "Focus fire on the shield generator. If we take that down, the fleet loses coordination. Every ship will falter. Every moment counts. Make it precise." The pilots surged forward, weaving through enemy fire with agility only humans could master. Missiles streaked past, lasers blazed, and sparks flew as ships collided in desperate maneuvers. One human frigate, barely larger than a Xyrath fighter drone, managed to ram the alien command vessel, disabling its secondary engines. The massive ship staggered, drifting helplessly, a sign of the cracks forming in the invaders' armor. Inside the Xyrath flagship, panic spread like wildfire. Officers whispered in alarm, trying to comprehend what they were seeing. "How is this possible?" one hissed. "They cannot sustain this assault." The admiral's eyes burned with frustration and fear. "They are different. Their will, it cannot be broken. They fight like nothing we have ever faced." As the human ships pressed on, Elena's voice rang out. "For Earth, for humanity, strike with everything you have." Her words carried through the fleet, igniting courage in every pilot, engineer, and soldier. The humans became a storm of defiance. Every ship lost was replaced by another moving forward. Every death fueled a new determination. They fought not for glory, not for conquest, but for life itself. In the chaos, Lieutenant Chen fired the final salvo. The shield generator on the Xyrath command ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. The alien fleet wavered, their coordination gone. Essie. Hips collided, weapons misfired, and panic erupted among the Xyrath ranks. They had expected surrender, they had prepared for obedience, but they found only courage, strategy, and unyielding defiance. Elena felt a surge of hope. Humanity had achieved what seemed impossible. They had turned the tide. The Xyrath, the mighty conquerors who had faced countless civilizations, now faltered before a single planet's defenders. "Keep pushing," Elena ordered. "This is our world. This is our home. We will not give it away." As human ships swarmed the disoriented alien vessels, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter. Every strike, every daring maneuver, every act of bravery echoed across the galaxy. Humanity refused to surrender. And for the first time, the Xyrath realized that they had underestimated a species that fought with the courage of countless hearts beating as one. The battle was far from over, but one truth had become clear. The galaxy had never seen a defiance like this, and humanity was only just beginning to show its strength. The battlefield of space was a storm of fire and metal. Human ships, battered and scarred, continued to push forward against the massive Xyrath fleet. Every corner of the galaxy seemed to echo with the roar of engines, the hiss of lasers, and the determination of a species that refused to give up. Commander Elena Marquez stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes fixed on the largest Xyrath vessels. Each one was a fortress, but their defenses were beginning to crumble. "Prepare the final assault," Elena ordered. Her voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of hope and courage. "This is our chance, for every home, for every life, for humanity." Her officers nodded, faces hardened by days of battle yet glowing with determination. They knew the risks. The odds were still against them. Many ships would be lost. But they also knew that humanity had already done the impossible. They had survived the first onslaught. They had turned the tide. Now they would finish it. The human fleet surged forward, weaving through enemy fire. Missiles streaked past, engines flared, and explosions lit the void like distant stars. Small frigates darted around the massive alien warships, targeting critical systems with precision. Every maneuver was carefully calculated yet executed with a bravery that no machine could predict. "Commander?" Lieutenant Chen called, voice tight with tension. "We're in range of their core ship. Shields are down, but their weapons are still active. What's the plan?" Elena's eyes glimmered with resolve. "Focus on disabling their weapons first. Then we strike the heart. Every second counts." The human ships pressed on, undeterred, by the Zirath's desperate counterattacks. Massive beams of energy tore through space, reducing smaller human vessels to nothing. Yet for every ship lost, another took its place. Pilots and crews were driven not by orders, but by love. Love. For their families, their planet, and the countless generations who had come before them. On Earth, people watched in awe. Families clutched each other. Soldiers held their breath, and children's eyes widened with hope. Humanity, they saw, was fighting with a courage that defied every expectation. The world had never witnessed such unity, such defiance, and such bravery. In the midst of the chaos, a small human frigate piloted by Lieutenant Chen veered dangerously close to the Zirath core ship. He fired the first salvo, striking the weapons arrays and crippling their firepower. Sparks erupted. Explosions rattled the hull, and the alien crew scrambled in panic. The Zirath admiral's eyes blazed with fury. "Impossible," he growled. "How can this species survive against such odds?" Elena's fleet pressed on, surrounding the central ship. Humans fought with every ounce of strength they had, pushing past exhaustion, fear, and despair. Each strike, each maneuver, each life-risking decision brought them closer to victory. Humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was conquering the impossible. Finally, Elena gave the command. "Target the core, now!" Missiles, lasers, and all remaining firepower focused on the central heart of the Zirath command ship. A blinding explosion shook the void. Debris scattered across space. The alien fleet wavered, disoriented, leaderless, and powerless. Panic spread like wildfire. The invaders who had expected surrender were now facing total collapse. In that moment, Elena allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had done what no one thought possible. They had faced extinction, and instead, they had turned the tide. The human fleet hovered over the remnants of the Zirath armada, battered but undefeated. On Earth, celebrations erupted. People cheered, cried, and embraced. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. And the galaxy, witnessing this defiance, would never forget the courage of a small blue planet that refused to surrender. Elena stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. Her voice was soft but full of pride. "They expected our surrender, but we gave them the battle they were doomed to lose." And in the hearts of every human, a single truth burned brighter than any star. Courage, unity, and love could overcome even the greatest of odds. The battlefield of space was quiet now, but the echoes of the fight lingered. Broken ships floated among the stars, remnants of a war that had tested the very heart of humanity. The Zirath fleet, once a looming shadow over Earth, had retreated, or been destroyed. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. Commander Elena Marquez stood on the bridge of the Resolute, exhausted but unbroken. Her uniform was scorched, her hands ached, and her heart still raced from the battle. She looked out at the stars, where the glow of explosions still flickered faintly, like distant fireworks marking the end of a nightmare. Around her, officers and crew moved with quiet reverence, tending to the wounded, repairing damaged systems, and checking on surviving pilots. Every face told the story of endurance, courage, and unyielding determination. Humanity had faced extinction, yet not a single soul had surrendered to despair. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen approached, his eyes wide with awe. "We did it. We actually did it." Elena nodded, her gaze never leaving the empty space where the Zirath ships had been. "Yes," she said softly. "We did, and we showed the galaxy something no one could ever calculate. Humanity cannot be broken. Humanity cannot be defeated when we fight for what we love." On Earth, celebrations erupted. Cities glowed with lights, people hugged, cried, and laughed together. Soldiers returned home, their steps heavy with exhaustion but light with pride. Families reunited. Children ran through the streets, eyes shining with hope. The world had seen the impossible, and they had lived to tell the story. Yet, amidst the jubilation, the memory of the fallen remained. Every life lost, every hero who had given themselves to protect Earth was honored. Monuments would be built, stories would be told, and songs would be sung. Humanity's victory had been costly, but it had been won through courage, unity, and the refusal to surrender. Elena walked through the corridors of the ship, greeting her crew. Engineers smiled weakly as they repaired hull breaches. Pilots wiped, soot from their faces still feeling the adrenaline of battle. Soldiers clasped her hand, tears in their eyes, proud that they had been part of this story. She saw determination in every gaze, hope in every gesture, and a shared understanding. Humanity had faced annihilation and survived. The Zirath, somewhere in the depths of space, would remember this day. They had expected surrender, obedience, and fear. Instead, they found courage, strategy, and defiance. Every calculation they had made was wrong. Every expectation had failed. Humanity had given them a battle they were doomed to lose. Elena returned to the observation deck, looking at Earth below. The planet was scarred, cities damaged, oceans blackened in places, but it was alive, and so were its people. Humanity had endured not because of weapons, not because of numbers, but because of something far stronger: heart, spirit, and love. She whispered to herself, "We may be small, but we are unstoppable. We are humanity. And this is just the beginning." In the days that followed, humanity rebuilt. The story of the battle spread across the stars. Other civilizations, once indifferent or even hostile, now looked to Earth with respect and caution. Humanity had proven that even the smallest species could stand against the greatest threat, not with fear, but with courage and unity. Children grew up hearing the tale of the Zirath, of ships and lasers and heroes who refused to surrender. They learned that bravery was not the absence of fear, but the decision to fight despite it. Humanity's legend had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it. And high above, in the silent void of space, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the courage of a species that refused to be broken. Humanity had faced its darkest hour, and emerged victorious. They had not only survived, they had triumphed. And the story of that day, of courage, defiance, and the unyielding human spirit would live forever.